First, I'm starting with my transition shade, which is going to be Instyler from Makeup Geek. That's just mine specifically. Yours, depending on your skin tone, might be something else. I'm putting no primer down on my lid to start. Once I've got a decent hefty layer of that, I'm coming with Cocoa Bear, which is from Makeup Geek. But essentially, you can use any mid-tone brown. Blending that out again with Instyler. You can definitely continue this down the lash line like I'm going to in just a moment, but because I suck with eyeliner, real bad, I am not going to do this until the very end, so that if I mess up with the wing, I can just take it off and not have to worry about redoing the entire eyeshadow. I'm also going to be doing this off camera because I always do it off camera because people always make fun of me when I don't do it off camera. So, really good thing I did it off camera because that took way too long. Continuing on under my brow. I guess technically it's still under the brow. Continuing on underneath my bottom waterline. I'm adding a black liner, only about halfway. Then adding a black shadow over top of that. Blending that out once again with the brown, and then furthermore with my transition shade. Going to be adding mascara over top of this.
As for my lips, I'm going to be using Cherry Skies, which is a liquid suede from NYX, and putting Biker Babe over the top of it, but you can definitely use any lip color that's going to be darker burgundy and putting a little bit of a sheen of sparkle over top of it. Next up, I'm going to be doing my contour. Now, I've never even done a contour before unless it's to do with face painting, so this is my first time, but Maleficent definitely needs a contour because she's got nice cheekbones. They are chiseled! Then to make them a little bit more natural looking, not that contour is all that natural, I'm going to be going over it with a powder just to kind of set it down a little bit, make it, like I said, a little bit more natural. Now onto the DIYs. This first one is going to be the staff, and for this I picked up most of these materials at the dollar store. The first one being actually a hand wash or a soap dispenser, which I only use the actual portion that's holding the soap in it. So because we don't waste on this channel or in this household, I put all the soap in another canister and or this container that you're seeing me put it in because I didn't want to waste any soap even though it's only $1.25, and then I washed it out as best as possible. And then I let it dry a little bit, but I also did obviously take off the sticker because the sticker is not Maleficent worthy. I did use scissors for this, but I would definitely recommend either getting an adult to help you if you don't feel confident, or getting a friend to help you maybe, or just being very, very careful because it was a little scary. As for the paint job, I was lucky that it did start out as being white, so I didn't have to cover up the sticker because I easily got rid of that, but I mixed two greens together. One is more of a forest green because I thought it would be appropriate, but I wanted to mix a little bit of neon in with it because obviously the green on the staff is going to be it glowing, and when it's glowing I want it to glow green. So I did mix the two colors together and then I painted it. This did take a couple coats because I'm painting over plastic rather than painting over a white canvas of paint, so I definitely did take probably 2 or 3 coats of it, I would say. But once those ones dried, to make the actual staff themselves instead of just the overall scepter, I did use this curtain rod that I got from the dollar store. I think it was $2, and I used both pieces, but I did want to take the ends off them, obviously, because shower rods or curtain rods aren't exactly Maleficent worthy once again. So I just easily popped these out. Kind of easily-ish easily. Once I realized how to do it, it was a lot easier. And then I put it to where I thought it would actually work for my height. This is obviously going to depend on your specific height, and then I just used a little bit of a knife to put it together. Now this is the only thing I didn't actually pick up at the dollar store. I picked this up off of Amazon. It's Steel Stick. It is going to be an adhesive, kind of. It's an epoxy. Basically what happens with this is it comes in a tube from Amazon. I will link it below if anybody's interested in it. And then you mix 2 parts together which come in a log, and then as you're mixing it, try not to use your hands, but I'm not going to tell you what to actually do with your body because it's your body, do what you want with it, but I found it easier to mix it with my hands, and then you add it to whatever surface you want to stick together. It works best obviously on metal because, like the name guys, it's literally called steel stick, but this did work with keeping the plastic together. Do realize though, with something like this, you do have a slight working time, and that's going to be probably about 5 minutes until it's completely hardened. For the actual light portion itself, I did look up a reference photo, which you can use any reference photo. I think I looked up a few for this, and I just drew on this with pencil, obviously once the paint is dry. Don't worry if your pencil takes a little bit of the paint off, because we're just going to be going over it anyways. But once you've got the general shape down, which you can kind of see with this right now, but kind of not see all that well, but you will when I actually put the shaping on. I use more steel stick to adhere it. This is why I said that it does adhere to plastic, although I would recommend if you do actually want this light up, put in some string lights before you start doing this, because they didn't have that long to actually put the string lights in, and that's going to make it so it can actually, you know, shine. And make sure it's going to be some that don't have all that much of a heat to them, because this is obviously going to be put into plastic, and if it's heating up the plastic, that's no good. It is a danger hazard, and maybe like don't do that. It's obviously something to do is test it out beforehand just to make sure it works before you place it in or before you completely place it on, because if they don't work, you're kind of screwed for this, because steel stick is entirely difficult to take off once you've got it on. Once you've got it on where you want it to be, I actually ended up putting a lot more steel stick over this. I think I went through 2 tubes, which it is kind of an expensive product, but it's definitely worth it in the long run, especially with how professional and like realistic it actually looks. But I'm just going around it completely to make sure it's as stable as possible. I'm almost doing this into a worm shape and then pushing it up. You'll see at the end of it, or you'll have already seen in the intro, that it actually does look pretty realistic when it's dried down. If you don't want to go through that much steel stick, as I said, it is a little bit more on the pricier side of things, you can definitely just go in with the painting option, which is painting it with a silver, like a metallic silver mixed in with either a black or a gray paint. This is just an acrylic paint. You can use whatever kind of medium you'd like to, and I'm just painting over the pencil marks I just put down. This is where you can actually clearly see where I put the pencil marks down, because obviously I'm painting over it. But after this is when you see the biggest amount of change from just a couple household appliances or from the dollar store to an actual scepter. Now, as I stated, you can definitely leave it like this and it still has the same effect, but if you are going to put the steel stick over it, this is almost going to act as a base just in case some of the steel stick doesn't maybe modify to every inch that you are, because it is a little bit harder to deal with if you wait too long. You will see eventually that I waited a little bit long for a couple of the parts, so they seemed a little bit more difficult to work with, and I ended up just using what I had. But once I had this down, it looked pretty decent, especially with the glowing effect. But I did want to go on to the steel stick, and so I used quite a few, and in the background you can tell what my other appliance looks like. But for this, I literally just went back and forth between cutting up more or taking out more of the steel stick. Again, this is where I went through, I think, 2 of them, and I just molded it together. I put a longer-ish strip, like a decent maybe like 2-3 inch worm on each of the pieces, and then blended them out. This is a little bit more difficult to do if you are going over something that's not already metal, because it just sticks to itself more than it's going to stick to any of the plastic, but it definitely is worth it in the long run, because I feel like it definitely makes it look a lot more realistic, because it has that texture to it and it's going to last a lot longer than just the acrylic paint would. This is where it kind of looks a little bit more awkward because I didn't use it in the correct time fashion. For the majority of this, I did blend out the edges as best as possible, considering it was sticking to my finger most of the time, but besides that, I built up the middle to make it look almost like a moat. Ideally, you could add a bird to this. If you guys saw my follow me around the dollar store, you could probably see that there was a crow that I was planning on involving in this DIY, but I didn't think about actually involving it until afterwards. And let me just tell you, super glue or any kind of crazy glue does not stick well to this. So if you are going to add the bird on, especially the one at the dollar store, you can definitely see at the bottom of it that it does have some metal spokes that you could put into this beforehand. Little pro tip there. But besides that, if you do want to add a bird to it, then I would probably do that beforehand rather than afterwards, because it definitely didn't stick after. I would definitely also recommend painting the staff to match better with the steel stick. But as for the next little piece is going to be the headpiece. This is the last DIY of this costume. I'm going to be starting off with a mannequin head, and I realize that not a lot of people probably have a mannequin head stand, but you can probably get it off of Amazon for pretty cheap. I'm using a wig cap to put on it so that the tape that we use doesn't actually end up sticking to my mannequin, because it tends to do that. So I'm taking electrical tape for this entire process because it's black and it's shiny, and that's pretty much what her head piece is. And I'm going to be starting out in the middle, and this is going to be the middle of your forehead, so definitely time it out to that. And I'm going to be going as a V in both ways. Definitely make sure that it's going to be symmetrical both ways with all of the pieces that you use. And I'm taking it all the way to the back and then obviously connecting them at the back as well. So this is going to be what the first layer looks like. And then I'm just going to be continuing on with the portion that actually sticks onto your head. You can obviously see better than I can actually tell you how to do this, as it is a little bit more difficult to explain, but you're just going to be going back and forth between each side. I just did one side just to show you guys what it actually looked like at the end, and then I'm continuing on with the other side. This probably used about a roll and a half of electrical tape, so it's not very bad, especially because you can get this from the dollar store. Each layer that you put down, you're going to be putting it slightly, maybe about half an inch away from the beginning of the last one, so it almost has a tapered effect. And once I've got both sides done, I'm going to be continuing with the middle piece, and it's going to be the exact same process, just slightly longer pieces so that it can match up in the middle. You can definitely continue this on after you've tried it on your head and see if it actually works to your specific head, because mannequin heads tend to be a little bit different than the size of each head. This is just kind of almost as a base to it. Obviously, if you continue on building it, definitely build down, because you can't really build up all that easily. Just continue on doing this. I know it's kind of time consuming. Maybe watch like a Netflix show or like an Amazon Prime show. Not sponsored. So this is what it's going to look like before we actually add on the horns to it. I took these little shot glasses from the dollar store and a lot of aluminum foil. Again, all of this stuff you can get from the dollar store, so it's an incredibly cheap DIY, especially this one. Maybe not the scepter as much, but definitely this one. And I created a horn shape. I just folded this kind of, I think it's in half hot dog style and then in half hamburger style, and then I folded it even more so in a triangular way. And then once I've got the general shape of the horn down, using multiple reference pictures, including people who have also done this DIY kind of similar. Although I haven't seen any videos on YouTube of how to actually create these horns, that's why I kind of wanted to give it an actual try rather than buying them online like everybody else seemed to. No shade, just want to do a DIY. I place a couple more pieces on top of it to get the thickness correct, and once I've got the thickness correct is when I start to put one more layer on to lock in the shot glasses to the tin foil. That was a mouthful, guys. That was a mouthful. To make them as accurate as I could to both the reference picture and to each other, I put them up together and molded them better to the shape. And then to give it the actual appearance of, again, the headpiece that I am working on, I'm going to be adding electrical tape all around there. The exact same way as I did before, only I'm just taking it from the roll, because you don't need to really take it piece by piece. You can just go around and around and around. Make sure not to crush it down too much, because obviously I have already made it the general shape that I want it to be. This is just for a nice and finely milled edge, so it's not like all crackly and tinfoil texture, you know? You could also do this in the way that the tinfoil ball was going around, but that seems like a little bit too much effort for me, so I just went the little bit more simple route, especially because this took a long time to make as is. Then once I had them completely done, I did put them on the headpiece just to see where I wanted them to go, and then I put them down with more electrical tape. I would probably recommend actually using super glue for this, or like a crazy glue, to better secure them, because the electrical tape ended up coming off a little bit more than I originally planned. But I put them down as 4 pieces just to go around each quadrant almost, and then put down some over top of that. As you can completely tell, I just put it in circular motion. This is incredibly hard to explain as I'm explaining it, but I hope you kind of understand by more seeing it rather than me explaining it. And that, my dudes, my friends, is how to make a kind of more simple headpiece for Maleficent as well as the scepter. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial and see you in the next one. Bye guys, happy Halloween. Ooh. If anybody sees this right now, they're gonna be like...
Do you want me to close this? We're gonna see through the window.
I'm really hoping.
So cute.
I actually didn't figure out this far apart. Like I didn't figure out what to do. Strikes you, you can move. Someone's coming out. Someone's coming. I realize that if my mom texts me, I don't even have my phone on me. Oh! Did you grab my phone?
Do you want me to unrecord?
Unrecord, yeah. Why are you still laughing?
My hand is f***ed up. Ow. That did not look comfortable walking through that. Like,
Seriously?
I'm like, no, I'm saying,
Oh.
like, just because I know you're wearing heels and you're walking through brambles. See you too much in the bush. I can't really see you too much.
That's the point of seeing my shadow.
Okay.
Oh god.
Can you see me?
Yep.
Oh. My headpiece keeps hitting things.
Please don't break an ankle.
Does it look like I'm having difficulty coming out?
Kind of.
What?
Kind of.
Okay. We're gonna try this again.
Maybe move the branch a bit wider so you can go through it a bit.
Yeah. You, nature. Work for me.
It's a dead branch. Do you want to move it?
It's a dead branch, but it's stuck into the ground. Is it good? I really hope so, because I just like attacked my hand with a prickly branch. That's the one I moved. Yeah, it was a prickly branch. Oh,
Are you okay?
no. Ow.
Oh. Oh.
I hurt.
I know you're trying your best.
What?
You're trying your best. I got to see the crow too.
Oh. Was I holding it properly?
Yeah, you were holding it up.
Okay, I'm like,
Just like, ah! Like, it's gonna go fun.
I don't love you.
Discards bird. You can, don't laugh. Okay, I'm done. I'm done talking. You're sitting on a prickle bush.
Yep,
Careful.
I know. Ow, I know. Blatantly obvious. Because it hurts. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. It's weird because I keep seeing bats.
Really?
Yeah, I saw 2 bats over there and one just fell down. Oh, are you okay? You can just let the bird go. Doesn't even matter. It was $1.25. Just let it go. Just let it.
I can't
let
just.
It go. Oh, let it go.
Different. Different Disney.
Hey there, Sonny.
Maleficent in the older days. Hey, your crow. We're not forgetting the crow. I'm sorry, I can't do that. Ooh, yeah. That's gotta feel fun.
You can't even see it, but there's...
That's a lot of hair. Oh, wow.